Yo, what's goody? What's poppin' YouTube? It's your boy Who's Mans. You already know what time it is. Coming to y'all with not necessarily a gameplay. There's a gameplay gonna be on in the background, but I'm just gonna be talking free flowing about some issues I've been having with Madden and why I haven't been seeing any gameplay. So let's get into it. So before we get into this, go ahead, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you'll never miss an upload. Also hit that like button because I will be coming out with more and more of these. Maybe not necessarily talking about the issues I have with Madden, but just I'm gonna take the time to play Madden more, and I think I'm gonna venture kind of away from the air raid for a little bit and just kind of play Madden because I really love the air raid, but Madden is not kind to those who actually try to run like a real life scheme, because real life schemes do not work on Madden, because Madden does not play like real life football. It plays like backyard, 7-on-7, whatever. So anyway, we're about to get into the first topic that I'm going to talk about, and that is contains. There is a huge problem with contains. I personally don't think it's necessarily escape artist. I would say I don't think it's solely escape artist. I think it is the contains. I think if contains worked properly, then the escape artist thing wouldn't be. It would be a problem because escape. I mean, you have a mobile quarterback. That's the whole point of why mobile quarterbacks are so hard to game plan for, because they have the threat of the pass and the run. That you have to take somebody away from coverage to keep an eye out on the quarterback, or you cannot completely just rush the quarterback because they have the option to run. The thing is, defense has been so hard this year because of zones and man, and just cover 4 doesn't react properly to certain things. Cover 3 hasn't worked properly. Match principles don't always work out the right way. You got players guarding grass. There's a lot of different issues on the back end. But the contains make this so much more difficult, along with the pass rush. Contains don't contain. I get it. They're not going to contain every single time. It's not going to happen. Some people get juked out when they're containing. Lamar Jackson running outside. There's a guy containing. He's going to juke back up the middle or inside because, hey, I'm not going to keep running at this dude who can light me up. Trying to double team a contain. The whole purpose of this dude is I need to be on the outside. So even if you have somebody on the inside trying to double team me, the only thing I'm worried about is getting outside of you and making sure that the quarterback doesn't get to the outside. Now, if you have a defensive end with, a tight end lined up on it. But the thing is, though, when you contain, the whole purpose is, once again I said, to get outside. So if you see somebody outside of you, usually they set it up to where it's like, okay, I'm always going to be outside. You, as a tight end, you can only be so far outside. I will always be outside of you. You know what I mean? That's the purpose of a contain. Secondly, is to make sure that the quarterback doesn't get outside of you. Since you're already at the point where they're trying to get to, and tackles are not going to try to step out away. The tackles are trying to create a pocket so that the quarterback feels safe. That's the point of the pocket, so that they don't have to be kind of confused as to like, okay, well, the line is doing this, and I don't know exactly how they're going to be coming in. If I know that, hey, I have this 5x7 area where I can just stay in, I can move up a little bit, I could move maybe back a little bit. If the interior of the line gets pushed back, I can move maybe to the left or right just a little bit. As long as you can keep a bubble around the quarterback, you're fine. That's the purpose of the offensive line. But these contains, they just don't work. They don't work. So it makes everything much more difficult. That's the one issue I have is Madden 23. They really need to improve the contains. I necessarily don't have that much of an issue with escape artists because, like I said, dual threat quarterbacks are always super hard to game plan for. I mean, that's just the nature. That's the nature of the beast. The second thing that I want to talk about is the pass rush. Most of this is going to be a defensive gripe. So the pass rush, I felt like was kind of perfect in the very beginning. If I'm remembering correctly, of 21, where a lot of people complained about, man, the pass rush gets in there way too quick, and I keep getting sacked. The thing about this is, you had more time than real quarterbacks had to make reads in the NFL. And I get it's a video game. You want to have fun. But also, if I want to play NFL Street, I'll buy NFL Street if I want to sit in the pocket for 25 years. It's football. It's supposed to be a sim football game. Now, if they just come out and say, hey, this is now arcade and keep it like this, I have no problem with how the game plays. It'd be arcade. But the pass rush needs to be a lot better because having people literally stand in the pocket for like 7-8 seconds for a lot of snaps in the game is ridiculous. You should not be able to sit in the pocket for 7-8 seconds more than like I'm gonna say more than 3 times a game. Not happening. A defensive coordinator, if that happens, because that happens in real life sometimes, where you see a quarterback in the pocket what it seems like forever, but usually that's like in a down where the quarterback needs to throw the ball down. It's like 4th and 15 or 3rd and like 20, something ridiculous. End of the game, near the end of the game, and the team has to score and they have to get a first down or whatever. I can see it in those situations, but an average quarterback, I'm gonna be off, but it's around like 3 seconds. You have 3 seconds to get rid of the ball. 3 seconds, you can do quite a bit when making reads. And what's crazy is when you take that away, you don't actually have to you don't have to progress through your reads. You can just like, hey, I'm gonna put this dude on a streak in a deep post and glitch everything out and roll out to the right, get past these contains, and just watch this one receiver the entire play. Where it's just like, how I've been playing in this game is I'm going through progressions. I don't need to know, like, I don't go off of their previous play when I play. I go off of, is it too high? Is it single high? Have they been running cover 2 a lot? Have they been running cover 3 a lot? Are they playing match a lot? And I kind of go off that. If they're single high, I've told you guys how to read this in my my playbook breakdown stuff. They're in single high. I'm gonna do this thing, and I'm gonna look at this receiver first, second, and third, and then you go that way. A lot of people say, well, if people blitz me super heavy, it's hard to make reads. It's like NFL quarterbacks get blitzed very heavily, and there is a way to pass out of a blitz. You have to have a quick read. You have to have maybe a quicker passing concept. You can't keep throwing bombs every single play, because if that's the case, then I will continue to blitz you and force you to get rid of the ball quicker. But I mean, once again, that's harder to do on Madden because you can double team a contain and all that good stuff. But anyway, it's just super frustrating with this pass rush because I see people in the pocket for years. You can do this almost every play. It doesn't matter if you rush 4 or 5. And I think the fact that pass rush doesn't come in when you rush 4 or 5 sometimes, it results in people just like, what's the point of me rushing 4 or 5 people? What's the point of me blitzing? I'm going to just send 2 and have everybody else in coverage if you're going to sit in the pocket for 5 years. And I think that's the reason why people do that. I don't think they do it because they're just like, yeah, I want to pick the ball off every time. It's just like, look, if you have a proper pass defense, then you're going to force people to make a read. There's gonna be a skill gap involved, because it's like, cool, well, if you don't understand the progressions on this proper play, or if you draw up a really stupid play, then that's on you. I think it makes people really think about, okay, do I want to blitz on 1st and 10, down 3? Do I want to come out in man, or do I want to come out in zone? Because say you have, like, for instance, with this Ravens-Cowboys matchup, I'm quite comfortable putting this Ravens team in man, because at least in the game, Marlon Humphrey is going to stay with Amari Cooper. Marcus Peters, I think, is definitely good enough to stay with CeeDee Lamb. And then they also have a solid slot corner, a nickel corner, and dime corners to stay with their Michael Gallup and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they have the cornerbacks to match up. Not only do they have the cornerbacks to match up, but they have the linebackers to match up, kinda, I should say, with their tight ends. Actually, no, they do. They have the speed and they also have the height. But you can't put that into effect because it doesn't matter, because the pass rush just isn't good enough. So it results in people blitzing 6-7 people every time, or just sending 2 when you need to be able to send 4 and have not a 1 second pass rush, a 2 second pass rush, but give me a respectable 3.5 seconds to get to the quarterback, or make the quarterback make a decision, or try to get outside the pocket. Do whatever. Make it like a 3-second kind of timer almost. Obviously, it's not going to happen every single play. Some plays in the NFL, guys get in untouched. Some plays, the offensive line just blocks really well. They have 5 seconds. Or sometimes the quarterback has a designed rollout, and now you have a little bit more time because you're kind of improvising or what have you. But the thing is, you're just kind of hoping and praying at this point that you can pick the ball off, when that's not always the case. It's like, hey, if I have a good defensive line, I want to feel like I have a good defensive line. The Cowboys have a good defensive line, but sometimes I feel like I can just stay in the pocket for 5 years against this team. So that's going to be it for that little section. I know that part was long. Next, I'm going to talk about the zones. The zones in man. Actually, specifically the zones. I'm going to stick to the zones. All right. And I'm not going to talk about match, because match is a whole different issue, and maybe they'll get that programmed properly. I feel like match would be a little harder to get down exactly, because you can't have players that aren't very aware playing match the way it should be, because obviously, you may have a rookie who is not super aware, who tries to, and then if you have it play exactly one way, then you're going to have players that aren't good or aren't aware. I shouldn't say aren't good, but aren't as good or not as aware or don't understand that well. They're going to be playing better, and then so on and so forth. So I'm just talking about straight up zone, just no match, just straight up zone. Cover 2 or Tampa 2 and cover 3. And drop zones. So the issue I have with these drop zones is it seems like they only cover that like area they only cover grass. They kind of cover around a player. Tampa 2, if they have a guy running an out route, you kind of keep your eye on the cornerback. You're not staring the quarterback down, but you're keeping an eye on the quarterback. And you want to, if you're playing Tampa 2 and a guy runs an out route, you know, okay, look, I have the flats. Excuse me, sorry for that little cut. Your boy was coughing. Anyway, you understand, like, hey, Tampa 2, I'm playing the flat zone. I understand that I need to cover so far back, so far inside, and so far outside. So really, you want to keep the receiver in front of you so you can keep an eye on the quarterback. You know, whether you shade inside or outside is here or there, but you keep the receiver in front of you so you can keep an eye on the quarterback. If they run an out route and you're playing a flat and they're saying, hey, I want you to play hard flat, I need you to be kind of, they're going to play the receiver. They're not just going to be kind of like in the area, just kind of like looking like, hey, I'm playing in this area and there's a receiver here, but I'm just playing in this area. They're going to follow the receiver. They're going to follow the receiver. There are principles that you have to follow, but for the most part, they're going to follow a receiver. They're not just going to play grass. And say you're in a trip set and they're playing Tampa 2, the flat receiver on the side that has no, wide receivers isn't just going to back up and just kind of stand in that area. Usually they come closer into the line of scrimmage. They'll, try to do something to occupy, a receiver or something. They're not just going to stand in no man's land and guard nothing. That's what would be the point. A coach would sit you down and not let you play for the rest of the day if you do something stupid like that. They need to do something where it's like, cool, if there's nobody in the flats over here, let me go help out with someone else. Or another gripe that I have is with the deep blues. The deep blues have been a problem this whole year. The fact that you can play a Tampa 2, a too high Tampa 2, cover 2-man under, you can throw a post and a streak on one half of the field and it be open on the other side of the field, to me is crazy. The whole purpose of the two safeties is to not let anything get over top. I understand if the receiver is just faster and you have a super strong arm like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, a prime Brett Favre, prime Aaron Rodgers, they could really throw the ball deep. But the whole point of cover 2 is to not let anything get over top. You're always sitting over top. If you let a post come from the left to the right and get over, if you have a post starting on the left and he gets open on the right, over top of the deep blue, something is wrong with the deep blue. I don't care how bad you are. You're supposed to not let anything get over top. I get it. If you're slow, you're slow. It's something, these things happen sometimes, but I'd be watching stuff and it's just like you're throwing a deep post, not to the middle of the field, but to the right or left of the field, and it's a too high man. What is the point of too high man if he's not gonna and it's consistent? I can see getting burned once, you get caught looking in the backfield, you get caught once looking in the backfield, or they have a concept where they kind of like where you think, oh, blah blah. But if it happens once, it ain't happening again. And I feel like you can do that concept 6 billion times and it's going to have the same result, which to me is pretty stupid. Like, I don't get that one. I understand it more so for cover 1, man, maybe cover 3 because, you have a third and you're going past 2 deep thirds. But at the same time, though, it's not like a deep third is going to sit there and, not every time at least, but you kind of understand, at least when you're playing football, like, hey, okay, I have the middle third. I'm going to follow this guy. There are times when communications break down and maybe he stops because he thinks that the other third is there to help him out. But there are some guys who are super aware that just like, oh, I don't see anybody over there, let me keep running. You know, because you're going to have to turn your shoulders, your hips, I should say. You're going to have to turn your hips, and there's going to be a point where you're looking at the receiver. It's not like you're tunnel vision on this one receiver. You're playing zone. So you kind of have to scan the entire field every so often. When you see a guy coming across your third, I feel like there are times, especially if this safety is super aware. Minkah Fitzpatrick, I'm trying to think, Tyrann Mathieu, Troy Polamalu, players like that. They understand. Ed Reed. They understand, like, hey, I don't see the third over there. Let me just keep running with this guy. You know, I get it every so often, miscommunication or, you know, a perfect route combination, and the safety is like, well, crap, I can't. You know, if I let this guy go across the field, then I'm also letting this guy go deep here, so I got to stay with the, you know, the deep guy and just hope that the other third. These things happen, but on cover two, on the deep halves do nothing. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense sometimes. So that's my gripe with that. I have one last gripe that I really want to talk about. Actually, not one last one. What am I talking about? I have another gripe that I want to talk about, which is the lead blockers. The lead blockers do not go up the field at all. The only time they go up the field is when you break past the line of scrimmage. I shouldn't have to break. It's crazy because I'm telling you guys, go into practice mode, run a I'm trying to think. Get an I-form, get in the I-form Pro, something with a fullback, and just run a run a play where the fullback is the lead blocker for you, or run a power run where you have a pulling guard. They will not go up the field unless you go past the line of scrimmage. Even if there is a defender coming into the hole that the lead blocker is supposed to go into and go up the field to block, they will not block him unless you go past the line of scrimmage, which is stupid. That's not how lead blocking works. They don't sit there and be like, well, I can't go up the field unless you get to the line of scrimmage, because then by that time you're past the linemen. Linemen are not as fast anyway. The reason, it doesn't matter how patient you are. Get the ball, right, when you have a lead blocker, and then stop running. You will watch the offensive, the guard who is supposed to be pulling, or you will watch the fullback that is supposed to be lead blocking. They will they will literally not go up the field to block. They will stop. And that is an issue that happens in the run game. And it happens every single time. I get it if he runs up the hole and maybe misses somebody who is off to the right because it gets congested. It's kind of hard to see sometimes. Yada, 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 this, that, and the third. But, like, for you to just not go up the hole and seek somebody to block is wild to me. There's an issue with that. Same with when you're down the field. If I'm sprinting, I don't care if I'm sprinting or just kind of trying to keep pace. These receivers who get up the field past everyone, they turn around and start walking back to the play and don't block anybody. I've seen so many game plays where people could have had a touchdown. They've done all this work to juke and jive, get out of people's way, set stuff up, be patient. There's a wide receiver walking back, not doing nothing, and walks right past the defender, and then that defender tackles them and they don't score a touchdown. It's just like, what? How is that programmed? They should. It's just like play to the whistle. That should be programmed into the game. I don't understand how you have players walking around, seeing a defender and your player running, and it's like, oh, let me not put a hand on them. At least try. I get if they're walking back because they think they heard the whistle or something. But then if they see the play going, players will react and be like, oh snap, the play's still going. Let me keep going. And I'm not saying they need to be making these pancake blocks every time. I'm not asking for everything to be perfect because, you know, the real world isn't perfect. Stuff happens. But at the same time, man, you gotta, like, you gotta program stuff the right way, man. It just seems like nothing was tested, and it's just super frustrating. And I know this combats the whole purpose of the defense, but I think when you improve the offensive and defensive line interactions in general, these runs and stuff, when you call the correct plays, you will start to see the effects of that, because it's just like, cool, well, they tend to like to run a play action here. Let me send a blitz. And if they don't call a play action and you call a blitz and they decide to do, check down to a quick pass, then that's on you. You know what I mean? Like right there, I sent a blitz. It didn't come in quick enough and I wasn't in the right position. He threw it directly, in a spot where I couldn't get to it. That's on me. Lastly, something that I have an issue with is just I seen that there's leaks in 23 that the tackling animations and all the animations in general, they're trying to get away from the animations, but dog, some of these animations and interactions just look awful sometimes. Well, I'll have a player dive like that. I'll have a player dive and it's like he should have hit up his body more, or they'll dive, they almost hit the ground, then they like almost kind of like double jump and tackle the guy, and it's like there's no way that you're diving 5 yards away from me while we're both sprinting and tackling me. Diving does not make you faster. This was proven scientifically on television in front of everybody. You can look it up on the internet. Diving, sliding does not make you faster. It doesn't make you get to your point faster. If anything, it makes you get there slower. I don't get how diving 5 yards away from somebody will make you catch them. But also there are times when you dive and they just run and like in real life they would have tripped over you or something. There needs to be some sort of tangibility. But hopefully they get to a physics-based I should say, like tackling and running and throwing and all that stuff, because even for people that are in the comp scene and don't go off of all this other stuff, or people trying to get clips, you go back based off physics, things will make more sense, and there cannot be any complaining of like, man, as soon as my player did this thing, I already knew that this wasn't going to happen. Or you won't get those instances where you have somebody like Vince Wilfork getting trucked by Tariq Cohen and they're both running full speed. Like, I see stuff that happens in Madden where I'm like, I'm sorry, but no, physics just no. There's no way some tiny dude, some cornerback is stiff arming a 350-pound man like that. Unless that person is insanely strong or the offensive lineman was already off balance. Like, there's too many times where I see stuff that just don't make sense. Or the whole goal line thing too. I know some of y'all have seen this goal line thing where you could be running full speed and then a defender will tackle you at the 1 yard line where y'all both running full speed forward, and he somehow stops all of the momentum and pulls you backwards. There's not a single person on the planet that can run full speed, tackle you, stop, and pull you back on a dime. It's not physically possible. Your ankles, knees, hips will snap off. I'm hoping this physics-based tackling style is coming into the game. I hope it's gonna affect offense and defense equally, because it's gonna also make people put linebackers back on the field, because you come out in a dime, you have 3 linemen and 2 linebackers to face at the very least 5 linemen. So you're gonna have a disadvantage with 2 of these linemen. When you come out in dime, you put your coverage linebackers who are not good at run defense. They're better at pass block or pass defense. So you're gonna be your lighter guys, your guys that are like 225, 230, somewhere around there, and you think that they're going to shed the block of a guy who is 310 pounds, 320 pounds, somewhere around there, 340, guards, centers, 300 pounds. It's not happening. Then you have this kind of stuff. I mean, but anyway, like I said, you come out and dime against somebody who is in I form. Good luck blocking it. You're going to get pancakes everywhere. You may have the one really quick guy who, shoots a gap and, gets in the backfield. But generally, there's a reason why coaches do not come out and dime when somebody comes out in like they come out in like a 21 personnel or a 12 personnel. Ain't happening. You're not coming out in no dime against no 12 or 21 personnel. There's too many people that weigh too much going against too many people that don't weigh enough. And if I'm running the ball against dime, you're going to get blown up majority of the time. It's not going to look good for you. You're not going to be able to stop any kind of run. Usually they reserve dime for very obvious passing situations. At the worst, you're gonna come out and nickel against, maybe 12 or 21 because you want a speed advantage, because maybe the team's been passing a lot. They're very pass happy, like the Chiefs, for instance. Sure, I'll come out and nickel most of the time, even if you come out in 12 or 21 personnel. I'll keep coming out and nickel because, but you still at least have 4 defensive line. You'll have at the very least 4 defensive linemen. Which one of them may occupy a double team, causing... Anyway, there's just some fundamental issues in Madden. I mean fundamental issues in Madden. Where it's just like, y'all can keep adding everything under the sun, but if they don't fix the fundamentals of the football game, because it's supposed to be sim. I get it. It doesn't have to be completely 100% sim. But it has to make sense. And Madden right now makes absolutely no sense. Even with the superstar abilities, the whole purpose of the superstar abilities, I think, is because they don't understand how to make the ratings work. If you got people out here who would rather pick Javelin Guidry over Stephon Gilmore because Guidry is faster, there's something wrong, because Stephon Gilmore locking up everybody. Guidry, Javelin Guidry, I might be saying his name wrong, but like, there's a reason why he ain't, a number 1 corner on like the best defense in the league. But anyway, y'all, I'm out, man. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.